Okay, so today we're going to look at the Bollinger Bands RSI strategy, how it works, how you can trade it, and what you could trade it on, what time frames, and all this other good stuff. So stay tuned. I'm going to show you exactly how this works, and this thing is really good. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing you're going to need to do is add the Bollinger Bands, which is right here on the chart. You can see these. And the platform I'm using is TradingView, one of the best platforms on the planet. So it's TradingView, and that is the top band there, the bottom band there, and then also the RSI indicator, two of the most popular indicators out there. So most of you guys probably even know a little bit about these. And if you don't, no worries, because I'll show you exactly how this thing works. And so the next thing, so basically, here's what you're going to need to do: put them on your chart. And so here's the RSI, and here's the Bollinger Bands. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to look for the price action, the candlesticks. So let's go ahead and put candlesticks on your chart, and let's get this drawing board. So you're going to want to see the candle close below the band or above the band. And so in this case, this is actually below the band. And so this is the band that I'm talking about right here. Okay. And you're going to want to come down here also on the RSI, and you're going to want to look all the way over here where it says 30. You're going to want to see this go below the 30 line. So right here, actually, in this candle, it is actually still all the way over here to that is 60. So you want to see this come down. You want to see it come down. And then, so basically what that's going to do is that is extreme selling pressure. And so basically what that's going to do is that that could be an indication that there's an oversold market. And so you can see here, this is the SPY, very common, this is basically the SP 500. And so what you need is for it to be below both. And then once you see that, you can start to analyze things. And so what I like to do is do things like trend lines. And so, for instance, you could draw a trend line like this. So say we're at this candle right here. Because this is where it's at. This is where it actually touched. You could see there in the RSI. Let me bump that up a little bit. We touch below the 30 right there. So now we can start to really analyze. So do you see how it started to go sideways here? And it actually started to create a little triangle pattern here. And then what happens when it breaks out? Boom, right to the upside, all the way up to the upper band. So you see that right here. This is where it touched the upper band. So honestly, how you could trade this, a simple way to trade this is once you get the confirmation. So this was the confirmation candle right here. See that candle, because it was below this line, the Bollinger Band line, and then come all the way down here, and it is below the 30. And so you might be asking, why is this red line on the chart? Well, I actually made it simple. And so basically, you'll see this nice vertical line on the chart when this happens. And so you really don't even need this indicator, and you don't even need the RSI technically. But I'm going to keep the indicators up there just for reference. But if you want this indicator, it's 100% free. There's going to be a link below this video in the description. You can go ahead and grab it there, 100% free. And because this is a really, really nice tool. We did get some feedback. Someone mentioned that, why don't you have a green line here? You can change it. And so if you really want this to be a green line, you can actually change that to green. But the way I look at it is red is oversold, green is overbought. And so that's how we did it. But anyway, so this, again, let's get back to the strategy. So this would have been a great entry point. This is a break of this nice little triangle pattern. And with our confirmation signal, see, you don't just want to trade just one signal. I mean, you technically can, but the more you add to a strategy, the more confirmations, I should say, you should add, because you don't want to overcomplicate something either. The better it's going to be, and the more reliable it'll be as well. So this would have been a great candle to get in, and this, sure enough, that was a nice little thing. And you can even you can get out at the touch of a Bollinger Band. I mean, this wasn't like an insane move, but some of these are really good. So a trade would have looked like something like this. Let's go ahead and move. Let's go ahead and use our little handy dandy tool. And so you would have got out somewhere. So it was only about a 1%. And then you can use a risk reward ratio of 1-to-1. And because essentially what that'll mean is you just have to go above 50%. And so if you're doing that, you're in good shape. And I believe just by doing some back testing, I've seen some really high win rates by doing the band touches. And so I think that'll be a great way to trade this. But anyways, yeah, so this was a nice little 1% trade. So if you're doing options, that would have been a nice little quick trade, potentially, 50 to 100%, depending on what option you chose. It might have been a little bit less than that. But anyways, so that is a great way to trade. And again, you could trade this. You could do the same thing with Bitcoin. You could do the same thing with Forex, futures. It's going to really be the same way. You're going to wait for these to come up. Let's go ahead and go for a sell example in this case. So a sell example, the same deal. You see the indicator painted this for us, so it's real simple. So we had a overbought signal here. Okay, and so this was indication by is above the top Bollinger Band, and then also the RSI. You see that right here. The RSI is above. In this case, it's going to be 70, and so this line up here is 70. This line down here is 30. So essentially, that's just, and you can see how it reacts to price. Right, it kind of reacts the same way the price moves, and then a lot of the times when you see big moves like this, it actually makes it overbought or oversold. And so so in this case, we had our signal right here, we had our signal right here. So now we could start to analyze, we could start to do some work. We can figure out what's going to potentially this could turn over. And so again, we could even draw a simple flat line like that, or you could even done something like this, where, well, it actually turned very quickly. So in this case, I would have liked, because this was a big gap, right? So that is a big gap. So if it closes below that gap right there, it's a good indication that, hey, we're going to go possibly back to the downside. So you saw that, how it tried to push up. It just wasn't enough. There wasn't enough there. This candle closed below this gap, and then it continued down here. So this would have been a nice little close. So we can actually use our short position tool here. So if we would have got in somewhere here and then somewhere like that, so that would have been another one, and that's a 1.5%, and that's not very long at all. So that's a great trade. Okay, and let's just go for one more, just because I see this right here, and this just looks interesting. And so you can see here how this was a big sell-off. These were massive. This was a big day. This was a big sell-off on this day. Okay, and we got our confirmation. This was actually severely oversold. So you can see that right here. Let's go ahead and draw that right here. You can see this. This is severely oversold. So that's almost all the way to, that's like 15. So that's very, very much oversold. And so what we could do, again, draw our trend lines, triangles, levels, anything you could really, manage to put on these charts. And so you can see all these candles, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A lot of this is starting to bounce off of this stuff, and then boom. And so again, we're not getting in right here. We're not ready to potentially get in. Again, this is a sell. This is a oversold area, but a lot of the times, or sometimes I should say, this can continue to just keep going down and down and down. And so we want to wait for another confirmation, which is why we're waiting for breakouts, which are why we're waiting for things like that. And so again, this would have been a nice confirmation to me, a nice little close above that. And let's go to the top band, which was actually that was only right there, or right there, I believe. So that's a 1%. That's another 1%. So if we did 1-to-1 here, you would have been perfect. Let's see, make sure we're exactly 1-to-1. Yeah, 1-to-1 right there. So yeah, so I mean, it did come back a little bit. So if you're doing a, well, I guess let's just go 1%, right? We can even just do a 1%, considering that at least on the 1 hour, we're seeing a lot of 1% moves. But again, we don't know the exact area we're going to get out. So 1-to-1 is actually a little bit, you can't really just, figure it out. But if you do a 1% down stop loss, 1% or more, depending on what you're trading, because sometimes a stock could be very volatile. So you can maybe choose 1%, you could choose maybe 3%. And then you're just looking for the top band to hit to take your profit. And so whether that'll be 1-to-1 or whether it'll be the 2 reward, 1 risk, it really would depend on that. So, but I would definitely say, so I did say 1-to-1, but technically it's going to be, because you're going to be getting out at different levels, right? You're going to be getting out at 1%. You could potentially get out at 2%. So hopefully that makes sense. But I would definitely recommend at least a 1% stop loss. So whether you're trading options or things like that, that way you're not going to just completely just annihilate that position. But yeah, so that is a quick little tutorial of this strategy. I could probably go into a little more depth to this. But again, remember, let's turn this off. I got this little, we got this little indicator for you. It's really nice. And what I like about it is that you can add a deep oversold alert or deep overbought alert. So that's pretty cool. So essentially you could be away from your charts, you could be at work, you could be, out playing golf or whatever you'd be doing. You get that alert and so you're like, okay, I'm gonna have that mindset where potentially that we could get a trade here, within the next however many hours, or within the next, if you're even on the daily will be a lot longer. So you have a lot more time if you're down here on the hourly. So if you're wondering what time frame I'm using here, I'm using the 1 hour time frame. But you can use this really on any of these time frames. I think, to me, the higher you go, the better for a Bollinger Band's RSI strategy. But again, you can test it. You can play around with it. Yeah, so that is really all there would be to it. One last thing to note before I go is that you might ask, hey, well, if you have this tool, how do I know where to get out? You will. I like Bollinger Bands anyway, so you will have to reference the Bollinger Bands from time to time. There may be an update where I could have this indicator show when this band is touched, because I think that would be a really good reference point. But I really didn't want to make this video just about this, this little indicator. I just thought it was a nice, especially with the alert, because then you can get on here, you can pull up your Bollinger Bands, you pull up your RSI, and you can trade this strategy, and you can, hopefully do really well with it. But yeah, this is just one of several different ways you could trade these indicators. I think this is a really good, go ahead, test it, try it out. You can even use the, like a little replay here, and and go back historically and see how it works, and see if you can make some money with it. So but yeah, this is just one great way to trade these indicators. And if you like stuff, if you like this video, if you like this form of strategy training, and just basically just learning stuff like this, let me know in the comments. I'd appreciate it. I could definitely do more. We love indicators, and so we like when we find a strategy like this, we like to automate it, right? And so that was one of the reasons why we did that. But I just wanted to break this down because I thought it was really good, just to kind of show you guys how it works. All right, that's it for me, and I will see you in the next video.